Doesn't that motor just make you look like you're so good at mountain biking?
I'm not a good mountain biker.
Yeah. And the motor just, boom, powered me right up. And it's nice of everybody else to walk up to make us not look as bad. It's, Thank you guys.
That was probably the most challenging riding I've ever done. This is kind of on another level. This is saying, hey, Specialized Trek, we have some competition here.
Be put on notice.
A 140, 150 millimeter full suspension electric mountain bike, 800 watt-hour battery, 110 newton meters of torque, all coming in at under $5,000. That's Aventon's new Current.
But here's the twist. We have two model options, the EXP and the ADV, and the choice between the two matters more than you might think.
We'll break down what's the same, what's different, and who each of these models is for.
And then we have some beautiful trails calling our name here in Phoenix. Take them for a nice ride and put them to the test.
And finally, we'll wrap things up with our concluding thoughts. But first, let's take a closer look. We already knew with the launch of the Aventon Rambless, their first electric mountain bike, that Aventon really had their sights set higher to compete with the mainstays today. And with the brand new Current, it seems like they're all in.
Starting out at a high level, where the EXP and ADV get their riding ethos is from the same place, meaning they both have the same motor, the same battery, same frame geometry, and same suspension travel.
Where the two bikes split is really the materials, the components, the weight, and of course, the price. The more affordable model, the ADV, comes in at $45.99, comes in two colors, this camouflage or blue onyx.
And the EXP, being the more premium model, comes in with a little bit higher of a price tag at $59.99.
That's $1,400 more. So what do you get for that increased price? Before we get into that though, I have one quick favor. If you're planning to purchase an Aventon e-bike, check out the link in the description, scan the QR code on your screen before you buy, or if you're buying at Aventon's 1,800 plus dealers, just email me your receipt, ryan@ebikeescape.com. It's free and truly makes content like this possible, so thank you so much for your support. So first, the EXP has a carbon front triangle, aluminum rear triangle compared to the full aluminum build on the ADV.
The next big difference is going to be in the suspension. Now, while the travel remains the same with 150 up front, 140 in the rear, the components themselves differ. On the front, on the EXP, you get the RockShox Lyric Select, and in the rear, you get the RockShox Super Deluxe Select Plus. And over here on the ADV, in the front, you get the RockShox Silo Gold, and in the rear, you get the RockShox Deluxe Select Plus. And the good news is, on both of these models, no matter which one you choose, you still get air adjustable suspension, rebound adjustments, as well as lockouts.
You know Aventon means business and wants to compete with higher-end e-mountain bikes. When they launched the EXP with SRAM's S1000 Access wireless shifting, so awesome. And by the way, there's no battery to be replaced because it's tied into the main battery.
And over on the ADV, you still get a strong SRAM transmission. You get the SRAM Eagle 70, and both bikes are 12-speed.
Aventon didn't want to compromise on braking power, but you do get SRAM Maven 4-piston hydraulic disc brakes on the EXP, and on the ADV, you get SRAM DB8, both running 200 mil rotors, front and rear. Think of it this way, the EXP is for riders prioritizing weight savings, suspension performance, and top-tier components.
Well, the ADV is going to be for the rider who wants that current experience and wants to maintain the same power, range, geometry, and tech without having to pay for every last little upgrade.
Speaking of geometry, the Aventon Current is offered in 4 different sizes, small through extra large. I'll be riding the large today. JT will be on the medium. The most important component on any electric mountain bike is the motor. This is Aventon's new Ultro X motor, 110 newton meters of torque, but you can change it to a boost mode for a certain amount of time and get 120 newton meters of torque.
And we're going to be putting all of that power to the test on these Phoenix trails here behind us in just a minute, so stay tuned for that.
And for pedal assist levels, it has the normal modes and auto. I'm very interested to see how that performs. And for battery, integrated into the down tube, takes some tools to remove, but it's 800 watt hours, which is on the high end for what you see on electric mountain bikes. The battery is certified to UL2271. The entire bike's electronics are certified to UL2849. And the plug is right here, uses Aventon's standard port.
And Aventon has even teased a new 12 amp charger they're going to be releasing soon.
That means you can charge your battery up in as little as 2 hours. And both bikes are Class 3 capable for speeds up to 28 miles per hour. Aventon wanted to pick tires that everyone is familiar with, so we have the Maxxis DHF and DHR 29 by 2.5 inches in the front, 2.4 inches in the rear, tubeless ready.
Both bikes come equipped with a dropper seat post and are outfitted with the Cella Royale SRX Plus seat. And this weird triangle piece here is the included water bottle mount adapter.
Moving to the cockpit, Aventon wanted to keep things clean. On the left-hand side is the wireless controls. They are Bluetooth to the display, and it takes a watch battery, though it should last a long time, so you shouldn't need to be replacing that very often. And on the right side on the EXP, you have the wireless shifting. All right, let's jump into the controls and display. As Aventon likes to do, there is a lot of cool tech in this bike. So the display is center mounted, power button right here. On the top left-hand corner, you have time. Tap it and you get the date. Top right, battery percentage, and then you have an estimated range that changes depending on your pedal assist level. We have speed front and center, but swiping this gives you a whole lot of information. Here we have speed and trip time, odometer, trip distance, max speed, average speed, rider power and motor power, compass, and then even more than that, you can hold down on any of these and you can customize them. Also, hitting the center button on the controls will change what is displayed. And then of course you have pedal assist levels controlled with the up and down. So we have off, auto, eco, trail, turbo, and for shorter boost, you can engage walk mode by holding pedal assist down. That might be handy today on some trails. Swiping down is how you can change the screen brightness, and you can lock the screen. Swiping up gets you into the settings, wheel lift control, set a password, display units, auto off, brightness, you can turn that sound off. You can change language. Aventon is launching in Europe, which is cool. And at the bottom, a nice get started section to help you familiarize yourself with the display. So where Aventon has previously flexed their muscles and continues to do has to be with all the tech that's built into their e-bikes, and with the Current, it's no different. Once you pair your bike with your phone, you have full control over this bike. When you go into settings, you have some of the settings that are also within the display, but where you want to spend some time is going to be in Ride Assist. Once you're in Ride Tune, you can adjust the max torque, assistance, pedal response, and of course Overrun, which we'll talk about in the first-person riding footage. There's even an anti-wheelie mode, and perhaps if you're riding in an area with a lot of elevation change like we will be today, they have uphill start assist. We'll crank that up and test it on some steep hills. And you can enable boost mode for short bursts of 120 newton meters of torque. And this is also where you can change the top speed up to 28 miles per hour. Like all of Aventon's e-bikes with their ACU system, you can geofence this bike. You can select where you want it to be able to be ridden and where you don't want it to be ridden. You have bike tracking through their IoT service. It costs just $20 a year, which is nice peace of mind for knowing where your e-mountain bike is. And new features are made possible with Aventon's over-the-air updates. And that's it for the controls and display. Just know that you don't have to use the app, but it sure does unlock a lot of customization.
All right, let's put the Aventon Current to the test up this slightly technical hill climb. I'm in auto. There we go, just getting set in the right gears, blasted up that first rock section. And here we go. I'm gonna take the slightly more technical line here. There we go. Man, this bike, this motor, these modes, super powerful, super capable. Look at this, I am pointing and pedaling and it's blasting all the way up. That's a fairly technical climb. I did have to put a foot down there. Here we go. Let's show you how powerful this motor is. I'm in about 6th gear, starting out on the hill. Look at that. Little half pedal stroke. Bike gets me right up. And then we have a little bit of a down, but man, that section there really just shows you how powerful this new Ultro motor is, and really puts that 110 newton meters to the test. All right, let's go back down and let me show you what it's like to come up the hill in boost mode. All right, here we are back at the bottom of the same hill. This time I'm gonna go up it in boost mode, which is gonna give me about 30 seconds of that 120 newton meters. Let's see how this gets up the hill. I don't expect to have many problems out of this, as it made it up in auto mode, which is auto adjusting the pedal assist levels for how much power it thinks you need. There we go. So we're gonna go up here on the left, cut back to the right. Now I can put my foot down this time. And once boost mode hits its 30-second timeout, all it does is switch down and throw you into turbo mode. So still plenty of power. If you're getting ready to start to blast up maybe a big hill, that is the mode you definitely want to be in. And if it wasn't apparent enough from that riding footage, the motor on the Current is super powerful, very capable. All this rocky terrain, those technical climbs, blasting up it. It can make an average rider look like a superstar because it's going to give you those power in those moments when you just need that little extra that your legs don't have to get up those hills. Let's go ahead and loop it back down. We're going to go down the hill. We're going to show you how good these brakes are. Now this is the ADV model, so these are going to be the DB8s, but again, still 4-piston hydraulic disc brakes. And now I don't know if this is going to show up well on camera, but any downhill here in the Phoenix area is one of two things. It's either rocky or prickly. So hoping I don't hit that prickly thing down there on the left. Let's show you what these brakes can do. They have so far given me a lot of confidence. I'm just going to use them a little extra here, slow down on these descents. Here we go. But then let go of them. They're there when you want them to go ahead and bomb the rest of the way down. All right, one of the features that we want to make sure we call out on the Current that we've just started to kind of see more on other electric mountain bikes is going to be Overrun. And so that little rock gap there is a good representation of a place maybe on some terrain that you might need it. And what Overrun is it's a little bit extra power that the motor will keep giving you when you stop pedaling. It's very close to ratcheting on an acoustic bike. And so say you come to maybe a gap in the rocks like that, and you can't get a full pedal rotation in, but you just need a little bit of extra motor power to help blast you through something. That is what Overrun is going to be perfectly set up for. So like here on some of this rocky terrain, I'm just going to give myself a little half pedal stroke, keep the motor going, and here we go. Like there, maybe I don't want to do a full pedal stroke because I don't want to bash a pedal. So I can just kind of use that little imitation ratcheting there to help blast me through it. And so we've been doing a little bit of riding with this motor now and really, I mean, feeling out the whole bike's geometry, and Aventon was very big on talking about how much time and energy they'd put in dialing it in and making sure it, felt right. And it's hard to find a lot of big complaints on how the bike handles and rides. So they definitely weren't just talking for no reason. So a few technical rock sections here, but you just kind of point and shoot and keep pedaling. That motor has every bit of ability to get you going. Here it's a bit technical here, but the full suspension, soaking up the bumps, keeping those tires planted to the ground so they can keep that power going. I'm doing a bit of back pedaling there to get it going, ratcheting, and there, yeah. I mean, look, I'm just kind of pointing and shooting with this bike, and as long as I stay in the saddle and I keep pedaling, the bike doesn't even feel like it bats an eye. So here we go, a little bit more up. We're almost at the top here on the Ridgeline Trail here in Phoenix. Keep my weight over the front. Just pedal, pedal, pedal. I'm digging a little bit here. Downshifting, there we go. Yep, that motor's making me look like I'm really good. And bam. Quick moment here while Ryan's climbing up too. The reason Ryan and I are able to do things like this, and all of us at Ebike Escape are able to do anything like this, because of you guys watching at home. Thank you guys so much. All the watching support you show us. I would not be enjoying this view without you guys. So here we go. Ryan is working his way up. Let's turn around so you guys can see him come up. Here he comes. It's definitely a lot rockier, more technically advanced than it looks from the bottom. There you go. And Ryan made it up. Woo! Doesn't that motor just make you look like you're so good at mountain biking?
I'm not a good mountain biker.
Yeah. So I was like coming up in like sixth maybe, or sixth or seventh gear, and I just shifted down to fourth, and the motor just boom, powered me right up.
That was insane.
Yeah. All right, here we are back down, going down that other side of the Ridgeline Trail. There we go. A few rocks to go down. Oh yeah, nice couple drops, Ryan. You're probably gonna want to go right. There it goes. This type of terrain, you have to have a full suspension bike. Just keep that power coming out of the motor. Keep you comfortable overall on this. It's crazy. Oh man, here we go. Heck of a climb coming up here. Get shifted down. Oh, and again, I'm still in auto. And we're just gonna stay balanced. Oh, bike got a little away from me there. Yeah.
How did I do that?
There he goes. And he's still going.
This says 9-degree slope, but I want to caveat that with 9-degree rocky slope.
Yeah, very rocky. Very chunky.
And it gets steeper here. Let's see, 15, 20, 27 right here.
There you go.
All right. All right, so right now I'm in hold mode. Bike won't roll back on me, which is nice.
Yeah.
Now I'll hold down.
And he'll walk it up. And it's nice of everybody else to walk up to make us not look as bad. It's, yeah. Yeah, thank you guys. Oh, yeah. So I know Ryan was walking me through how to use it there, but man, just that little bit of extra assistance from the bike there to get up that hill. Pretty nice.
Oh.
Something I realized I hadn't mentioned, but should be said with this bike is that, you know, it's like on a trail like this, where it goes up, it goes down, it goes to the left, it goes to the right. You just don't kind of really know what's around the corner. And so the nice thing about all of the modes Aventon has put into their bikes is that you can get away with riding this type of terrain in any of them, but they've added auto mode, which automatically adjusts the pedal assist. So like, you know, hey, I'm going down. I don't know. I can be an eco for this, but oh man, that climb got steeper than I expected. It'll automatically just adjust and give you more power. It doesn't feel like cheating. You're still absolutely getting a workout. It still feels like mountain biking. And when you're mountain biking on terrain like you got here in Phoenix, man, the idiot proofing or the less thinking you have to do outside of which line do I take, is that rock gonna hurt me if I fall into it, the better. So in here, like I didn't have to worry about changing pedal assist levels, just sat down, pedaled, and man, zooms right up. This type of terrain as well is if the e-bike company doesn't make a complete package or a capable full suspension e-bike like this Current is, that type of terrain is gonna exploit those weaknesses, and I don't think they were there.
Nice work.
Yeah.
All right, more flat-ish terrain here. One thing I have noticed is this motor is so silent. I mean, the tires hitting the ground is louder than this motor. And I would say, so I do a lot of cross-country riding, more flowy stuff, and so eco is kind of where it's at for a lot of riding I do. But I will say for some of this chunky stuff, the technical climbs, it has been so nice to crank up the pedal assist level, and this bike has unquestionably helped me do things that I just definitely could not do, and that's thanks to the power, obviously. And so right now I have it in eco, just a gentle cadence, going about like 10 miles an hour. Let's kick it up to trail. And I have to say I've been loving the wireless shifting on the EXP. And of course, this is a torque sensor, so the more effort I put in, the motor is going to match it up to 500%. Now cruising at 14, kicking up into turbo, which to be honest is more power than I need right now. But man, our cell phone holder is holding up nicely, available at shop.ebikeescape.com. And so going kind of on this stuff here in turbo, I'm just barely putting in any effort at all. Yeah, you can pretty much spin your legs in a low gear if you want to. All right, more of a flat section now. You can get into the higher speeds. And yeah, 20 miles an hour is just so easy. All right, and I realized from having an electric mountain bike for some time, I love an electric mountain bike because I can ride to the trails rather than having to put a bike on my vehicle. And this bike is class 3 capable. So let's get going and see if we can hit 28 and how easy it is. So we are in turbo now, shifting up so I can more easily put in some effort. All right, we're in the 20s now. A little bit more power from my legs. Can feel the motor, still can't hear it, which is kind of insane. Mid 20s and a little bit more power, 28 miles an hour. And that's not even using boost. All right, let's go in boost here. Get our 30 seconds of extra power. Shift up. And there's 28 miles an hour. Concluding thoughts. We have collected our thoughts after a hard day of riding.
Yeah, the bike shows it.
I didn't think I could do. I think it was the bike doing the heavy lifting.
But definitely up some of those climbs. It was yeah, put in work.
That was probably the most challenging riding I've ever done, and the bike handled it extremely well.
Absolutely.
The huge steep climb that I didn't think I could do that I did.
Right.
The motor was absolutely insane. And then coming down from that was the gnarliest downhill ever.
Yeah. The climbs of this bike, the motor was capable of are very impressive. You just keep your weight balanced. I literally was just putting my seat down, getting weight over the front handlebars, and it was motoring right up. Auto mode is what I rode in the entire time. I didn't see any need to put it in turbo, trail, any of those. Just letting it auto pick.
I also think the terrain lent itself for being in auto. Whereas I think if you're on more cross-country trails, maybe you would leave it in eco. You just need that little bit of boost. But like these climbs were insane.
Right, and it would go from downhill to steep climb. Like you don't need that much power being put in downhill, but the steep climbs, you need all of it.
So I think the motor, huge standout feature for both of us. Tons of power. We already, I think, talked enough about that.
Yeah.
It's insanely quiet. The only time we could hear it was when we purposely had to try and listen for it.
When you're getting a lot of torque out of the motor, I was in like, bottom part of the cassette, gear 3 for the 12-speed, and climbing up. And so the motor's putting in as much work as it possibly can. I'd hear a little bit of whine, whereas like the Rambless, for example, in comparison, you'd hear when the motor was putting out power anytime you were in turbo. Not the case for this bike.
So extremely quiet motor, tons of torque. The customization, really enjoyed that. We tested the Overrun out quite a bit. That's a really nice feature. And Aventon is only going to make this bike have more features. I even looked at the jump settings. I got 0.3 feet of air, I think, on something.
That pretty much is all the good things we can say about the motor. The battery is the next best one. So I know at the end of the entire day's riding, good couple hours of riding, I was at 71%.
Yeah, and I was just above you at 76.
So, and those are some steep climbs. The motor was putting in effort.
Yeah, 800 watt hours is on the high end that you see on e-mountain bikes, and I can't imagine anybody would want more. Let's talk about the suspension. There's actually not a lot to talk about because it performed how any high-end suspension should. I know there's probably a lot of people watching this that are familiar with the RockShox Lyric, at least the front fork, maybe not the shock. Tons of comfort. This is really meant to be an all-mountain type bike, and the suspension kind of shows that.
I guess would be like really the biggest thing that's like a nod. The people at Aventon, that they made very clear to us today, but as well as just something we know from talking to them in the past, they are mountain bikers through and through. This is the bike they have wanted to come out with for years at this point. So they did not release something that was going to be a slouch, was going to be rough to ride on any terrain, and wasn't going to be fun.
Yeah. We first heard murmurs of this bike years and years ago. So this bike has been in development for a long time. It's been a long time coming. Let's talk briefly about the brakes, 4-piston hydraulic disc brakes, what you would expect paying thousands of dollars for an e-mountain bike. I personally really liked the electronic shifting on the EXP.
Yeah, I had the ADV model, so I had a cable-driven drivetrain, and SRAM drivetrains overall, I think they just have like a nice clunk to them. No problems, didn't miss a gear, and no complaints out of the drivetrain, even from the manual side.
The dropper post feels very nice, works very easily. Yeah. The other thing we need to talk about is the tech. I think it's really cool that it is a wireless control to the display. And then we didn't talk about this, but the ACU is actually right here within here. And we already talked about all the tech that is in there, but it's just really kind of cool to see Aventon's progression from the Rambless and some of their other e-bikes to making something that has even more functionality, like the compass and kind of the fun features.
The slope angle thing that we could, I think the quote was from them, it was like 23 sensors or points of data they can pull from. Which is just astronomical. And one thing to note too, if you are a mountain biker, you're gonna crash. And so one thing that they said about the wireless remote that was really cool was that if you do break it because you crash with it, it's a simple Bluetooth pairing to just get a new one. And there's no wires to run, nothing like that. So kind of, pretty cool they've thought about even those worst case scenarios.
And not only that, Aventon shared with us that they're making their kind of blowouts of the bike public, and that all the parts Yes, you can go to one of their dealers, or you can just order the part online, look up how to do it, and this might be one of the most easiest full suspension electric mountain bikes to repair. I mean, we'll see. At least the information is out there.
Right.
That's something that's really cool.
Yeah, as anybody who has put together any number of bikes, one of the things that you miss is a torque spec guide or, hey, an exploded diagram of what's what.
Yep.
And they are providing all of that via their help desk. So, and they said they're not gatekeeping that to only dealers. It's open to everyone.
The tires, I mean, tubeless ready, awesome.
Yeah.
These are tires that I actually am currently running on my analog, non-electric mountain bike. No complaints there. Mountain bikers are going to be happy with that choice. It's an easy choice.
Yeah. The terrain today was also the best case scenario for them. That is the terrain that these tires are meant for. Aventon is also known for making stylish bikes, and even on their full suspension e-mountain bike, they figured out a way to make it look awesome, and that's gonna kind of be in this upper carbon triangle. They painted the front half but left the rear exposed, and so you get to see some of that raw carbon, which is just something I love. And it blends in super nice to the frame. It's just like really well accented.
All right, let's talk about the considerations. So first off, I think we need to talk about price. This bike probably not going to be your Aventon Adventure customer if you're already familiar with some of their bikes. It's unquestionably a higher price point, though when you look at the competition, these are priced extraordinarily well. Maybe you get into the Adventure 3 and you're like, I fell in love with biking as I've gotten older. And maybe you're thinking, oh, the Rambless is a good option, but I need a little bit more comfort. I live in Phoenix with like insanely rocky terrain.
Yeah.
You want the full suspension.
Absolutely.
But you, of course, have to pay for all these high-end components, $4,600 or $6,000 for the EXP. So I think that is certainly something to keep in mind. This is going after a different demographic than Aventon has historically. I mean, they kind of hinted that they're going this route with the Rambless, but the Rambless was, just a step function up from, say, the Adventure 3 at $2,000. You could see a path to a mid-drive, someone wanting something with a little bit nicer components.
Right.
This is kind of on another level. This is saying, hey, Specialized Trek, we have some competition here.
Be put on notice. Another small consideration for this bike is going to be the battery is removable, but it does require a tool and a little bit of finagling. The best way we found was flipping the bike over, and then you have to take out 3 bolts to get it out, and there's a quick disconnect connector. So it is nice that it is not terribly difficult. You don't have to disassemble a large part of the bike, but you do still need a tool to take it out. It's not a quick release like we've seen from other event models.
And that might be a limitation depending on your bike rack. Maybe the carbon version weighs low enough that it still meets the criteria for your bike rack. But if you had to remove this battery and you're an avid rider, it's going to get kind of annoying. You probably want some handlebar jacks, so when you flip it upside down, it's not that you can't do it, it just takes some time. We've seen a mix from other e-mountain bikes where it's pretty easy to remove, and then we've seen setups more similar to this where you have to pop the cover off, there's 2 bolts to undo, slide the battery out. That's also, from a charging perspective, the port is on the bike itself, so bringing the battery in to charge is not really going to be a thing, so keep that in mind.
While the display on this bike is very full featured and has a lot of stuff packed into it, Aventon did hint at a lot more things that they have coming and some other cool integrations with maybe some other health and fitness apps that they're going to be rolling out in the future, but that's something we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, and it being a touchscreen, I was very impressed with the responsiveness, the brightness being 800 nits. However, if you're riding with gloves, like most often mountain bikers are, you're gonna have to slide your gloves off if you wanna use the touchscreen. It might be possible with touchscreen compatible gloves, but we'll see.
But if things get dusty too, it is one of those things. The nice thing is that you can set everything with your phone and then put your phone away, and then you can adjust via that touchpad. But the touch screen is super nice, just may be a bit finicky if you're out on the trail. You may have to clean it off or take your gloves off for sure.
So that's what we could come up with after kind of torture testing this bike. Remember, if you're planning to purchase an Aventon e-bike, why not support our channel for free? Use our link down in the description or scan the QR code on your screen before you buy, or email me your receipt, Ryan@ebikeescape.com. We can still get credit. Thank you so much for your support. All right, with that, I can't wait to hear what you guys think in the comment section. We'll be hanging out there answering any questions. Let us know what you think of Aventon's Current, either the carbon version, the non-carbon version. What else would you have liked to see? I'm curious because we struggled to think of other things that Aventon could do to make this better. Either way, I'm excited for Aventon going further up into higher end stuff.
Absolutely.
I think this new motor is probably hinting at some other things coming. We'll see. Be sure to subscribe and like this video if you found it helpful.
And until then, we'll see you guys in the next one.